environmentalist. While he has experienced things that have changed his habits in many ways, he tries not to get too preachy toward others about the way they live their life. That being said, at times, the changes he's made pay off in unexpected ways, and he feels an obligation to share what he has learned. Tonight, he will talk about some of the lesser-known benefits of abandoning gas-powered transportation. Please welcome Jordan.
So here in Bellingham, there are a lot of people driving around in electric cars these days. Some of you in this room may have even driven one here tonight. For most of the people that buy one of these cars, they do so for environmental reasons. That's the main reason why I abandoned my gas-powered truck for an electric one 3 years ago. While I have indeed found it rewarding to reduce the amount of oil I consume, for me, the largest benefits that I have seen are not from environmental improvements, but from practical ones. With increased vehicle reliability and lower operational and maintenance costs, I have seen benefits from abandoning my gas-powered truck that I had really not expected. So instead of standing up here tonight and talking to you all about some of the environmental reasons why you should abandon your gas-powered car, I'm going to talk to you about some of the practical day-to-day benefits I have seen for making the switch and why you should consider it also. So those of you who've heard me talk in here before probably know I live in Deming and I work in the construction industry. What that means for me is that I spend a fair amount of time driving to job sites carrying tools and supplies with me. For me, having reliable transportation is essential to being able to make a good living. For that reason, I was obviously a bit nervous when I abandoned my gas-powered truck for an electric one 3 years ago, especially since the truck I was buying was 15 years old and had been made by Ford in a very limited quantity. Well, I can tell you that aside from a few minor issues at the start, my truck has been essentially problem-free and is much more reliable than my wife's car or the vehicles of my coworkers. Whereas all gas-powered cars have complicated engines, transmissions, fuel systems, and other systems required to make them go, my truck relies mainly on a bunch of batteries and a simple electric motor. Compared to a gas-powered engine, an electric motor is incredibly reliable, and they can easily run for thousands of hours without needing any maintenance. And at least in my case, the batteries in my truck are as good now as they were when the truck was brand new. And as you would expect from a vehicle that is incredibly reliable, the maintenance costs for my truck have been extremely low. Since it does not have any engine oil, fan belts, timing chains, water pumps, or other common consumable parts in a gas-powered car, I have spent very little maintaining my truck in the 3 years that I've owned it. Now, of course, my truck still has brakes, tires, and other common wear items. But since the electric motor in my truck actually acts as a generator to slow the truck down and recharge the batteries as soon as I let off the accelerator, it has extremely long brake life. Its smooth operation also seems to be contributing to much longer than usual tire life. I can honestly tell you that in the 3 years I've owned my truck, I've spent less than $200 maintaining what is now a 17-year-old, essentially experimental vehicle. So if you are at all interested in getting away from some of the common hassles of vehicle repairs and expenses, I would highly suggest looking away from gas-powered vehicles the next time you're in the market for a new car. Now, I know that the largest draw for a lot of people when they get rid of their gas-powered car is that they don't have to buy gas anymore. But I also know that a lot of people think, well, you're not buying gas, but aren't you just paying for a lot more electricity? Well, the good news for those of us who live here in the Pacific Northwest is that we have the lowest and most stable electricity prices of anywhere in the country. If there were ever an ideal place to power your transportation with electricity, it's here. Whereas in the past 3 years, gas prices have been all over the map, from up over $4 a gallon to down below $2. Over that time, my electricity rate has been consistently low and stable. This has left me completely free from the agonizing about what the cost of oil is going to do to my expenses, which for someone like me who has a family to support is a huge bonus. I can honestly tell you that since I got my truck, I've hardly noticed the additional costs on my electric bill. And in fact, studies have shown that you can most similarly compare powering your transportation with electricity to the cost of powering a new large appliance in your home, which isn't really all that much. So if you're at all concerned about the additional costs on your electric bill from getting an electric car, I can tell you that here in Western Washington, you have nothing to worry about. Now it's true, my truck has some limitations. I can essentially not drive any further north than Blaine or any further south than Mount Vernon. A few times, the power has gone out at home and I've been unable to charge my truck, and this has left me scrambling for an alternative. And I've had a few white-knuckle drives when I've had to make an unexpected detour, and I've watched my battery gauge drop dangerously low while I'm still miles away from the next place where I can charge it. But I can honestly tell you that on the rare occasions when I do drive a gas-powered car these days, it seems like a completely crazy way to get around, and I'm totally thrilled to be done with it. So if you expect to be in the market for a new car anytime in the near future, I would highly suggest looking at an electric car, even if you don't have any environmental reasons for doing so. Thank you.